Okay, so hi everyone. Like Miss Dunley said, thanks for coming. I hope you all had a good weekend. Today I'll be talking about the importance of considering students' emotional wellness in education. And as a side note, I have a history of technical malfunctions for my live presentation. So to keep it simple, I'll just be putting my thesis and then a link to see my sources in the chat. So I'll do that right now, and then you can view them or hide them at your pleasure. And then let me get my sources. All right. So some background on me and what I've done. I began my study with Berkeley X's course, The Science of Happiness on edX.org. And there I learned some foundations of the study of happiness, which included like the importance of social connections, cooperation, mindfulness, and compassion. And then after the official course was over, I decided to take my research in the direction of how all of it applies in education, because last year I studied the science of learning and was even able to do an elementary internship, but it was cut off by COVID. So I wanted to still use some of that research and take this year's research to a different level. So prioritizing student mental health when creating academic plans improves student wellness and performance. This is a pretty broad claim, so I'll be breaking it up into several tangible ways in which decisions that are made with students' well-being in mind or that are in alignment with principles known to enhance mental well-being can result in enhanced academic performance. One of the principles of happiness that was talked about a lot in my course, and it really intrigued me, was the pleasure and awe that comes from being outside. I thought it was something that felt really out of the box, since most of the other units focused on social connection or introspection of some sort. But anyways, a research paper by Erin Largo Wright estimates that Americans today spend at least 90% of their waking hours indoors. School kids spend less time outside than at any other point in history, and a mere 24% of children in the US meet the recommended 60 minutes of physical activity per day. The causes of this are likely less designated playtime in school and different technology, screens obviously, but the results are just depressing, especially considering that time spent outdoors is an important predictor for general health and well-being. And again, that's from Erin Largo Wright. One testament to the impact of nature is that Chicago housing projects with greenery have significantly reduced crime rates and improved senses of community and safety, as opposed to Chicago housing projects without greenery. These comparisons were made by Francis Kuo, and another important piece of information was done by Paul Piff, who conducted a study where people were either looking at trees or an industrial type building for a little bit, and then were prompted to help someone out. And they found that people who looked at trees were more likely to act pro-socially than those who looked at the industrial buildings. So clearly there's some link between natural surroundings and wellness and pro-social tendencies. Additionally, free play, which occurs most often during recess and outside, is really beneficial for children's health. The benefits of play include developing motor and social skills. They help kids how to negotiate. They help teach kids how to negotiate conflicts, etc. According to Sarah Smolansky, who's researched this heavily, sociodramatic play, which is play in which kids pretend to be something else, like superheroes or playing house, helps activate resources that stimulate social and intellectual growth in the child, which in turn affect their success in school. Since a lot of subjects in school deal with problem solving and predicting what comes next, practicing that in a play setting really helps them to practice those skills. So despite all of these widely understood and acceptance of the importance of play, children are spending less and less time being physically active and being outside. So if being outside and being able to play are both important to students' health and well-being, how can they be implemented? Because you can't make the entire school day designated for recess. Well, results from across the world have suggested that teaching academic classes outdoors is just as engaging and even as productive learning outside as learning inside. So in Turkey, Errol Tass and Salih Gulen studied a class of 7th grade students who were taught concepts with outdoor activities and games. They were immersive, hands-on activities designed to teach them about natural science. All of the student participants reported enjoying the activities, and a majority of them also said that they thought they learned better when having learned it outside. So overall, learning outside seemed to be more fun, increase interest, and be just as, if not more effective in teaching the subject material. Aaron Largo Wright, who I mentioned earlier, conducted an experiment in the southeastern United States in which 2 kindergarten classes rotated between having classes in an indoor classroom setting and an outdoor classroom setting. Outdoors, they had like carpet squares to sit on, an easel for presenting, they had clipboards, baskets of supplies, and tents and canopies for shade. And then, yeah, they rotated in between those classrooms and observers watched them. The 2 teachers who were involved in the study reported positive perceptions of the outdoor classroom from both their perspective and the students' perspective, that it seemed to be more enjoyable for both parties. And although they didn't see a noticeable difference in the quantity of work completed, both of them perceived an improvement in the creativity of the work that was completed. And both reported loving working outside, getting the fresh air, and that it was a good change of pace. 12 of the students who were involved were randomly selected to be surveyed about their experience with different learning environments. Half of them reported really liking the outdoor classroom better. And the remaining half of the remaining 6 students, half of them said that they liked both classrooms better. So I'm not really sure what to make of that, except that possibly only a quarter of the kids reported liking the indoor classroom better. This next part I personally found a bit surprising, but observers noticed fewer teacher redirections and students being off task in the outdoor classroom than in the indoor classroom. Even though it seems like there would be more stimuli to be distracted by in the outdoor classroom, it really seemed that kids were able to focus better in the outdoor classroom. And this was especially true for students with identified special needs who were especially engaged in the outdoor classroom and really seemed to be engaged in the activities they did. I will say there were some limitations to these studies, one of which is the small sample size, and another is that it's pretty hard to get really objective with these studies because of the subjective nature of defining happiness or how effective a learning technique is. But I do think that these studies are encouraging, and I think would be really interesting for this research to be continued in larger settings. Moving on, a large concept stressed by my edX course was mindfulness, which is defined by one of its lead researchers, Shauna Shapiro, as the awareness that arises out of intentionally paying attention in an open, kind, and discerning way. In a 2011 meta-analysis of studies, mindfulness exercises were found to reduce distress in people dealing with chronic pain or psychiatric disorders. So it seems as though it gave them practical skills to handle their problems and to be able to focus on life at hand rather than their worries or whatever was stressing them out. And again, these benefits can be translated into the educational world. An elementary school that had kids regularly practice mindfulness meditation noticed less playground conflict, less test anxiety, and reduced behavior issues. Jill Suddy, who's researched this a lot and wrote a book called Mindful Kids, Peaceful Schools, reported that these exercises are rarely met with resistance from kids. They actually make kids more resilient. So they're better equipped to bounce back from struggles, to shrug off minor setbacks, and remain confident even if they face obstacles. And these benefits aren't just limited to when they're in school. If they're able to learn these skills, they can use them their whole life and reap those benefits throughout their whole life. One form of mindfulness that could be easy to implement in the classroom because it's pretty short and doesn't need a lot of effort, it's pretty simple, is mindful breathing, which according to my class can lead to better health, lower anxiety, and greater resilience to stress. So perfect for the classroom. It only needs about 10 minutes daily and involves focusing your attention on your breath, ideally while sitting and with your eyes closed if that's helpful. The idea is that it gives people a chance to distance from their thoughts and feelings, which can help them tolerate and work through the more unpleasant ones. It also gives you an anchor to stay present in the moment. A more targeted form of mindfulness that I'd like to delve into is the importance of developing hope and good self-efficacy for students' well-being. And this is something I studied a lot last year. So self-efficacy is a topic that's been heavily researched by Albert Bandura, who's a really famous psychologist, and he defines it as the personal judgment of how well one can execute courses of action and deal with various obstacles. One specific aspect of it I'd like to focus on is the growth mindset, which has been researched and implemented beautifully by Carol Dweck. Last year, I watched her TED Talk called The Power of Believing You Can Improve, and I was blown away. She was inspired by a school in Chicago where if students didn't pass a class, they weren't given any failing grades. Their proficiency was just marked as not yet. So she wondered if she could use this principle to improve education and help students succeed. So she researched it a lot, implemented programs, and incredible success stories came. Elementary schools where her programs were implemented experienced much greater growth than the state's averages. One elementary school that was chronically under-resourced and underperforming went from being at the bottom of its district to at the top of its district, and it was competing with the affluent schools of Seattle. Dweck and her associates at Stanford and Columbia universities followed 400 students as they went through middle school, and they observed what kind of mindset they had and then their academic growth. They found that students with growth mindsets showed continuous growth over time, while fixed mindset students did not, and the progress just widened as time passed. So I'll go into what exactly a growth mindset and a fixed mindset is. So in short, a fixed mindset is believing you're smart or you're not. You can do something or you can't. It's believing that everything is just stagnant and that success comes from personal attributes of being smart or talented. On the other hand, students with growth mindsets believe that success is earned through hard work and diligence, and that challenges are a great way to improve and overcome. So researchers have found that students with fixed mindsets often back down from challenges or struggles because they're afraid to fail, while students with growth mindsets feel ready to try different strategies and work until they achieve what they want to. So after discovering all of these differences, Dweck developed plans on how to build growth mindsets in schools. The first way was to set good goals. So according to my classes, students will strive towards whatever goals are set for them or by them. So setting the bar too low will suppress achievement, but setting the bar too high without giving them proper support is likely to end in some sort of failure and reinforce the fixed mindset. So it's important for teachers to know their students' needs, what they struggle with, what they're good at, and to help them build appropriate goals and sub-goals so that they can have wins, small wins while achieving their goals that help them build confidence and develop the growth mindset. Another aspect that Dweck mentioned was the importance of giving good feedback that emphasizes the value of hard work rather than personal attributes. So giving specific constructive feedback on what students do seems to be really powerful in helping students develop the growth mindset. So for example, complimenting a student, saying, "You're so smart, good work, you're really talented," actually reinforces the fixed mindset because it attributes their success to their personal attributes. It's really important to instead emphasize the importance of productive work, saying things like, "Good job, you practiced that the right way, and look at how much you improved." Or "You tried different strategies and you figured it out." Finally, it's really important to embrace the word "yet" in a classroom to show that persistence and struggle is an essential part of learning, and that mistakes are opportunities to learn and improve. Challenges are how learning is done best, and that even if you don't understand something right now, you just don't understand it yet. You still have the chance to work through it. A similar concept that was introduced in my class this year, so not last year, was hope. Hope appears to be an important factor in improving students' self-efficacy and goal reaching. A best practice school, De La Salle School in Freeport, New York, which is grades 5 through 8, by the way, uses hope strategies to help achieve their 100% high school graduation rate, which the odds that students who face the hardships and adversity they do, the chance that they'll graduate is typically very low. So the 100% graduation rate is really incredible. So one of the strategies that they use is daily affirmations. So every morning, students will recite their own personal affirmations, such as, "I'm a leader by doing the right thing even if I stand alone," or saying, "I dream big, I work hard to achieve those dreams." Teachers act as persuaders that students can achieve their dreams. They help students build goals and set sub-goals. There are weekly assemblies, newsletters, posters to acknowledge students' achievements who reach their goals. And there are alumni and teachers who act as mentors and proof of possibility that the students can do anything they set their mind to. Some strategies that were mentioned by my class for teachers to help their students develop hope are to help the students set goals that excite them, and again, to help them set sub-goals within those goals, to help track their projects, telling stories or giving them books that show people who are similar to them who have succeeded can help develop hope because it shows them that what they want to do is possible. And again, mindfulness activities seem to be really helpful in developing hope by helping students acknowledge their feelings and act with awareness. It also helps them cope with feelings of anxiety or nervousness that they might have because it helps them recognize those feelings and deal with them. So as you can see, students' mental wellness can be made a priority in limitless ways, from the design of classrooms to activities done in the classrooms to the language used in classrooms. And as we've seen, students' mental health isn't separate from their academic performance, but they're really deeply intertwined. I understand that the specific ideas I listed today might not work for every classroom, especially since teachers are overworked as it is, and they have curriculum they have to stick to. But I think with a bit of creativity, these principles can be implemented by any teacher or any student in their own academic lives. I remember in sophomore year, Miss Kellen, who's here today, she brought us outside one time to read our book. We were reading The Crucible, so it was a play, and we read it outside. So just little things like that, getting creative, you can really implement these principles pretty easily. And I think that if you do so, you'll find that prioritizing mental health in the academic world improves student wellness and their academic performance. So, are there any questions?
So Anna, how do you want them to do that? Do you want them to raise their hand or put it in the chat? Do you want to explain the hand raising feature to them?
You can do whichever you're comfortable with.
Can you monitor both of those?
Yeah, but if I miss something, just let me know.
All right, perfect. I think Miss Kellen has her hand raised.
Yeah, Miss Kellen?
Hey, I love that I got a shout out. Thank you. So how has this research that you've done, maybe this isn't very academic, but I was feeling inspired by things like hope. Has any of this reflected into you as a student? Have you adapted any of these in your own learning?
I have. I try to focus more on setting goals for myself and holding myself accountable to them throughout the process. And some other principles that were talked about a lot in my class that I didn't talk about today, I've also implemented it to my life, like gratitude. I've tried getting outside more, which I talked about today. So, yes. And Miss House?
Well, ooh, you are unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm just sitting here. I've written down almost everything you've said, but I was in education for 47 years. But it's true. 30 with kids and 17 with teachers. And what the gift I was given is I was trained by every reading, writing, and brain researcher. And what you shared today is based on brain research. And if you will write down the name William Glasser, Glasser, he put together How We Learn Best. And I have a copy of that here. And I'm pretty sure Miss Dunley has one too, but if not, I will email it to her, because just what you said about being outside, about moving, about doing all this, we remember 90%, 98% of what we are taught through art, music, movement, and drama. 98%. Wow. And we remember 1% from filling out a worksheet.
Yeah.
So, and there's the data in here. I would like you to have that so you can continue this, because it is imperative that we do this for kids.
Thank you. That would be awesome. Mr. Saunders?
Anna, I was curious to hear what surprised you most as you pulled together the research and thought about the implications.
I think, honestly, what surprised me most was that learning outside, I would kind of expect it to result in less focus from the students, because, yeah, there's more stimuli, there might be want to run around or play. But really, it seemed like the opposite was true, and that students really were more engaged when learning outside. So that was something that I found surprising. Tess?
First of all, great job.
Thanks.
Thing that I thought was really interesting was your conversation about I think his name was DeWick. You were talking about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, and I was just wondering, was there anything that you found that kind of gave an explanation to why kids might develop those differing mindsets? Like, does it come from parents or environment, school, other factors? I just thought that was really interesting.
That's a really good question. There wasn't a whole lot of discussion on that, especially in my focus for this year. But since a lot of the research that I did do was how to improve fixed mindsets into growth mindsets, was with environmental conditions of feedback for students or helping them reach goals. My best educated guess is that it is environmental, and that, parent feedback or teacher feedback would be very significant in what type of mindset a child develops. Ms. Dinker?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep. Good morning.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So first of all, I'm sorry I was a couple minutes late. I was trying to get in the meeting and I was struggling on my end. So great job, Anna. Thank you to Ms. Dunley and Anna for inviting me. I know Ms. Dunley through the Iowa Talented and Gifted Association, and so I was really excited to get this invitation. Anna, great job. I do have a question about inspiring adults, the adults in kids' lives, to follow through with some of these great research-based ideas. Do you have any advice for adults, for the teachers who have to really believe it? They have to believe in what you've shared with us in order to be able to implement. Otherwise, sometimes it's just like, oh, well, okay, I'll try this, but I don't really believe it. You know what I'm saying? What advice would you have for teachers moving forward?
I think it would be to look at the data. I didn't mention a whole lot of numbers in my presentation, but there is a lot of really impressive data that's hard to deny when you look at the progress, the objective progress that students make when using the principles I mentioned. And I think this is harder for teachers, but I think some of it has to be top down from administration, just allowing teachers to have the time to incorporate these things, or finding ways to make it an essential part of the social emotional curriculum, which I know a lot of schools have. Incorporating mindfulness into that, I think, could be a way for teachers to fit it in. But to really prove to them how effective it can be, I think looking at data would be a really good way to show that.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you. Ms. Dunley?
To kind of piggyback on Lori's question, I wonder, you've taken the science of happiness and then done all this research. And I wonder if maybe a course like the science of happiness, if you think that should be offered as a PD, right, for teachers,
That'd be great.
a professional development. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
I think that would be an awesome idea, because it's hard to know about things if you've never heard of them before. So I think especially, making it so teachers know about this, the significance it has, and if teachers are able to kind of act together so that students are supported in all of their classrooms, not just here and there. I think that would be, awesome.
And am I still on?
Yep.
Okay. What you have shared today is really the common ground, the basis of what and how everything should happen in a classroom. The attitude, the way the students are welcomed into the classroom, and teachers are crazy busy. Yes, it's true. But the bottom line is we have to have the students be number one. And it's us and how we react to them, how we welcome them, how we get them organized, how we engage them throughout. And it's not easy, heaven knows. But every piece of data you shared today is exactly what should be happening every day for children, all kids, especially the kids with needs, special needs.
Yeah, that's something I find really interesting about the field of education, is that every single part of it is so researched to see what is the best practice.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Let's see, Jeremy.
I know it's been said already, but I'll say it again. Great job, Anna. I just
Thank
have one
you.
question for you. So you mentioned that greenery plays a huge role in improving student wellness in areas like the Chicago projects and lowering crime rates. But in highly populated urban areas like Los Angeles, Chicago, or New York, there's a lack of available green space. So what alternatives can students take to still get those desired outcomes?
That's a good question. I don't have much impact on how, or much knowledge on how greenery can be implemented otherwise. I think outdoors time in general, even if greenery is not available, I think outdoors time in general would be beneficial. But if you want to hear about greenery in cities, I would maybe suggest going to Camille's presentation because she studied city planning.
All right,
But that is a good question, and I'd love to see more about that myself. Tess, did you have another question?
Yeah, so I want to know, from all of the research that you did, and now you kind of know what a classroom should look like on paper, of the teachers at Roosevelt, besides Miss Dunley, because we all know that Miss Dunley knows what she's doing, who is one teacher that you think like exemplifies everything that you've learned about, or from Central?
It's a good question. I'm gonna keep it at Roosevelt because that's where I remember her. I think Miss Clayton, my biology teacher, did a good job of incorporating these ideas. I think Miss Kleinmeyer, as well, who's another science teacher at Roosevelt, has done a really good job of supporting us. I have her right now, so even during virtual times, she's found ways to support us, and I think she's done really well. And then there was in the chat from Miss Danker wondering if I could present this to the faculty. I'm not sure how that would work, but yeah, I could try that.
I think we could ask to do that virtually for sure, right? Like there's some things we can talk about that with Mr. Biggs.
All right, do you want one more?
Sorry, I just wanted to say you already have this recording, so maybe that would be a way to help, but your information is so rich, and it's made me think, and as Miss House said, she said she took a lot of notes. Do you see my page? Do you see all this? This is what I've been doing as you've been speaking, because I don't want to forget a word of what you said. So thank you. Great job.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you all for coming so much. And thank you, Tess, for coming. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too. How could I not come?
Yeah, I had to put it in the chat so the other audience members know it. I love that both Jeremy and Tess came back virtually to watch presentations, since they're former GTLS and leadership and mentorship kids. Jeremy did the same, like he worked with second graders also at a Hubble, Anna.
Well done, Anna.
Yes, it was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. And if you could give Anna some feedback on those sheets I sent you this morning, that would be excellent. And hopefully we'll see you again in another one.
Thank you all for coming.
You're
Great.
welcome. Thank you.